Hello friends, vinyl community, music lovers, welcome back to another episode of the Vinyl Survivor. This is where I talk about 5 albums that were pulled from my inbox. Most likely they're new to my ears. I give you a bit of history and info on each one, let you know what I thought of each one, and let you know whether they're going to be staying in the collection for good or if I'm going to be getting rid of them. So let's just go ahead and get into this. First album we have here is an album from Charlie Daniels Band from 1982 titled Windows. This features the hit song Still in Saigon on it. Charlie Daniels album you'd expect, very much in the southern country rock kind of vein, very jammy. This is maybe a little less jammy than they sometimes get, a little more polished. This is the early 80s and things seem to get slicker and more polished, and this is no exception, but an enjoyable Charlie Daniels album nonetheless. I enjoyed it. I do like Still in Saigon. There's a track on here called Lady in Red where somebody else does the vocals and it almost sounds like a Blues Traveler song. He sounds a lot like John Popper. I thought it was John Popper at first, but Charlie Daniels Band, Windows, an okay album, you know, not their best, not where I would recommend you start out with Charlie Daniels, but a good album, and it's going to be going in the collection. It does include some lyric sheets, liner notes and whatnot there, and this is on the Epic label, and it does have mastered by Capitol with Wally in the Dead Wax. That's Wally Troggett did the mastering on this. I talked about him before. He's a really well-known mastering engineer, really good sounding records, and this sounds pretty good to me, so I appreciated that. Okay, moving on. Second thing we have to talk about today is I believe the second live album from this band. This is by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This is Welcome Back My Friends to the Show That Never Ends. I believe this was done in 1974. They've got about four albums behind them at this point, so they have a lot of material to work with. You got Brain Salad Surgery kind of stuff on here. You got Tarkus on here. Just a really interesting concert. It's a 3 LP set. Each LP is sort of behind a die-cut letter. So you get ELP die-cut there, and then there's a disc behind each one. So yeah, this is a live recording. It has a very much of almost a crowd recording sort of feel to it. It's kind of echoey and boomy at times. It's not really a clean, direct soundboard kind of sound to it, which is something I don't like in live music. I like more of a cleaner, polished sound, but this kind of has that feel that you're there in the room. You kind of get a feel for the room, and another thing is that it's recorded at different venues, so the overall sound sort of changes a little bit from piece to piece. But otherwise, I mean, it's Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They're really, at this point in the time period, they're really on their game. They're really playing really well, and these are some really interesting live versions of some of these songs you really know and love. So it's really cool just to hear these long jam live sort of versions of these tracks. So this is a good piece to find. Definitely something else that's going to be staying in the collection. I always enjoy Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and to be able to kind of experience them live a little bit is fun. I did pay $1.75 for this at the library sale. And as I said, this is a 3 LP set. Comes on the Manticore label, so it's their own label, sort of subsidiary of Atlantic Records. Alright, next up we have definitive classic here, something that doesn't need much introduction. It's Bruce Springsteen-Darkness on the Edge of Town. Classic, well-known album from his catalog. So you got Adam Raised a Cain, Racing in the Street, Badlands, Promised Land, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Definitely a really good Bruce Springsteen album. I think Adam Raised a Cain is probably one of my favorite Bruce tracks of all time that's on here. So not much needs to be said about this. You either love Bruce Springsteen or you don't, but this is a classic. In his catalog, inner sleeve with another photo of him and some liner notes, and then just a blank on the back there, which is kind of interesting. They didn't choose not to put anything there at all. And then there's a tip-in sheet with lyrics on it, so you get all the lyrics to the songs there. And then of course this is Bruce Springsteen, so you're going to see that red and orange Columbia label, and this has TML-M on the A side and TML-S on the B side, so that's the mastering lab. The M is for the master lathe, and S is for the slave lathe. They had actually had 3 lathes there that they could run simultaneously just to cut plates faster. You know, in the heyday of vinyl, they really wanted it was a mass-produced kind of thing, and the faster they could do things, the better. So they could, you know, cut 3 masters at once. So that was a cool thing about them. All right, moving on into the 80s. Here we have an album from Tears for Fears. This is their big album, songs from the big chair. You know, you got Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Big album for them. And this is the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab reissue that was done last year at some point, I believe. I picked this up late last year to just give these MoFi pressings a try, just to see what it's all about. And I picked something that I know, picked something that I have an original of so that I can compare with, pick something that I like, you know. So I grabbed this one. It wasn't too expensive. I bought it online. So one nice thing about this is it's in a really heavy cardboard tipped on sort of jacket. You do get a nice gatefold. That's, you know, the original is not a gatefold. You get some extra photos and some extra liner notes, so that is a nice thing. Of course, it comes in a MoFi inner sleeve, and then you get the MoFi catalog here with all their different releases and whatnot. And then the album itself, this is a silver label MoFi pressing, so I believe the silver label means they didn't have the original master tapes to work with when they remastered this. So it's sort of a, you know, 2nd generation or 3rd generation or whatever it is. It sounds okay. I was a little bit disappointed in the quality of the pressing. It's a bit poppy. I've cleaned this album. The pops and clicks are still there in certain spots. It's not real bad, but with something that looks like they took this much care, you know, something that's supposedly audiophile grade sort of thing, you would think they would really take their time and really do things well. But there's just, you know, there's still some pops and clicks in here, so that's a little disappointing. The music itself, overall, it's not too different from the original. I have my original here. This is just a regular original pressing here of the album. It's a little bit clearer, a little bit crisper, just very, very mild. It's really not that much different from the original, but just slightly cleaned up, I guess you could say. But it sounds good. If there's an album that you just can't afford an original of or can't find an original of, I guess going with a Mobile Fidelity pressing would be perfectly fine. Overall, if it's something that's easy to get, I would say it's not worth the trouble to get these MoFi pressings. A little disappointed in the pressing quality. But as far as the music from Songs of the Big Chair, of course, you know, I'm a huge 80s fan. I love these songs, and I love hearing them. Head Over Heels, you know, as I said, Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. A good album, really fun to put on and sing along to, and really enjoyable. So this will be staying in the collection, and that's MoFi. So a little bit let down in the pressing quality. The packaging is just awesome. I wish the pressing quality was up to the standards of the packaging. Okay, and the very last thing we have to talk about today is another live album, and this is a live album that has never been released on CD, so this is only available on vinyl, and this is another one from Neil Young. This is Time Fades Away, sort of along the same lines as A Journey Through the Past that we talked about in a recent episode. This is something that he's not particularly proud of, the quality of the playing. Very rough time in his life after Denny Lane basically OD'd and from the Crazy Horse. So yeah, just a live recording. He was touring for Harvest at this time, I believe, but he wasn't really playing Harvest songs. He was playing some new songs that were more electric, and you know, the crowd was not happy with that. They wanted to hear Harvest, I think. But just an interesting piece in the Neil Young catalog, and apparently there's supposed to be an insert with this. If anyone knows anything about that or can tell me more about that, this one did not come with an insert. Reprise, sort of orange label there. So yeah, more of just a historical piece, I would say, in the Neo collection. You know, this is not something you can go get digitally somehow. If you want to hear this, you're going to either have to find a bootleg of it or, you know, find an original vinyl pressing of it. And these sell for a good bit of money. I think I paid $15 for this, and I thought that was actually a very good price for it. Just, you know, not somewhere to start out with Neil Young, but just an interesting historical collector's kind of piece. So thanks for watching another episode of The Vinyl Survivor. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave some comments. Please let me know what you thought. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you aren't already. I really appreciate that, and you will be able to know as soon as I release a new episode. Thanks again. See you again soon. Cheers.